right, I'm going to surprise the daylights out of you with this one. Most of your lies are not lies. There's tremendous confusion today over what a lie is. And so I want to unpack that and maybe reduce a little bit of your guilt, but also encourage you to watch out. So what is a lie? There is an historical definition of a lie that's very, very important. Each element of it is critical, and it's been out there for thousands of years. And yet when I present this definition in class to college students, they want to poo-poo it. They don't like it. They don't think it's what a lie is. Someone has told them something else, and I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. So the historical definition is a lie is a statement. In other words, it has to be in words, intended, it has to be intentional to deceive. A lie is a statement intended to deceive. So right away, think about this. Lies don't pertain, as defined, with things that are just visual. It has to be verbal. It could be a statement that you say. It could be a statement that is written down, that's texted, but it's got to be in the form of words. Okay, so that's it. And then the other thing is this intentionality, which is so critical. And here's where my students go bonkers on me. Students want to assume that any time they or someone else says something which is untrue, they have told a lie. Well, if they believe it to be true, okay, they're not intending to deceive, so therefore it's not a lie. We could say it's misinformation. We could say it's wrong. We could say it's in error, whatever. But we cannot call that a lie. And so much of what people think is a lie today in the world has to do simply with misinformation. It's not intended to deceive. And one of the things about the age that we live in now, with so many words flying around in so many different media and texting and social media and traditional media and all of this stuff, is that we don't know if something is true or not. We just simply don't know. And we might hear something that, it rings right. You know, I think that's probably true. Let's say I tell you that 30 to 40% of college-age students now, traditional college-age students, suffer from anxiety and or depression. Now, I say that to you. Am I lying? No. I know that to be true because I've looked at the research, and it's been part of my teaching to learn how to teach with students that tend to have anxiety and depression, an amazing number of them. But let's say that I just heard that, somebody out there said it, or I just said it to you, and you repeat it to somebody else. And you are assuming that I'm an authority figure, that I have researched it, that I know what I'm talking about, so you pass it along to somebody else. Maybe you say that to some friends who have some children who are suffering from anxiety and depression. And you say, well, this is pretty common. Boy, we're talking about a third or more of college students right now that are diagnosed with it. But you don't know for a fact. You haven't really gone back and checked it yourself. It's through a secondhand source or with me from another source that I got it from. So much of what we say, we have not quote unquote fact checked. So we don't know for absolute certainty. And if we pass that along to someone, it does not mean we're telling a lie. Only if we're intentionally being deceptive. So suppose we have some friends that have a college student who is suffering from anxiety and depression and homesickness and wants to come home, and the doctors have prescribed some medications, but they are worried about their offspring. And so to comfort them, you say to them, well, you know, I think only about 10% or so of kids have this problem. But if they go to college, it's going to be 50, 60%. So your child is probably typical, average in this. You've twisted the facts a little bit and told them something that is untrue. So you have lied. Now, if you're doing it simply to comfort them and you're thinking of it as a white lie It's of no great moral importance. I would argue in this case it is of moral importance because that anxiety, depression is important and the parents need accurate information. So I don't think it's a white lie kind of thing. I'll post, by the way, down below a link to my video on what a white lie is and why white lies are typically okay to tell. So it's a complicated situation with lies, but it's not misinformation. And there are classical cases that people use to justify a lie. Let's say it's in the Netherlands during World War II, and you are hiding some Jews upstairs in your house, like an Anne Frank house, and the SS comes to the door and says, "Are there any Jews living in this house?" And what do you say? You say, "Sure, upstairs." You say, "Well, I don't think so." That would be a dumb answer. Or do you say, "No, no way would we do that." And so they go down the street, you hope, and don't search the place. So that's a classic one where people will say it's a justified lie. I won't get into how you justify it and what would determine whether or not a lie is always justified. But I just want you to know that a lot of the times what you are saying, because you're not intending to deceive other people, is not really a lie. Yet, as I suggested earlier in the video, we want to be as well informed as possible. So I always try to remember myself, if I'm passing along information to someone and I'm not 100% sure about it, that I say, well, I think, or to the best of my knowledge, this is the case. In fact, I use that with my wife a couple of times a day on various things because she will tend to believe me and take it to the bank, if I can use that expression, and just pass it along to others as definitely true. So I try to make sure if I'm not 100% sure on something I pass along to her, I say that so she doesn't then pass it along to others. So lies, we tell them, sometimes they're justified, sometimes they're not, but a lie is a statement, words, intended to deceive. We ought to stay away from them. They can destroy relationships. I'll do another video on that later. But in the meantime, don't feel super guilty if you pass along information that's untrue that you could reasonably think was true, because it's not necessarily a lie if you don't intend it. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm Quentin Schultz. This is Communicate for Life, to choose life in our communication rather than destroying our relationships. Please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you would, and post any comments down below or questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much. Peace to you.